Ladies and gentlemen, I am very pleased to announce that we have a title race. Liverpool have just played Manchester City, the game ended 1-1, and there is so much to talk about. So, let's break it down. I'm struggling to think of a better second half performance against Man City than the one that we've just seen from Liverpool today. The attacking momentum bar in the second half is ridiculous when you consider that this is Manchester City. Liverpool were dominating, they were powerful, they were strong, they were intense, and everything that you would normally associate with Man City. The control wasn't there for them. It was all with Liverpool. Their presence, their power, their just ability to play through the lines, and that's credit to every single one of these Liverpool players. We'll get on to City in just a moment, but I've got to say that Liverpool were sensational. The composure from Conor Bradley and Jarell Quansah, who were just sensational, playing beyond their years. Quansah's only had 6 starts. I think this is his 6th start for Liverpool. Virgil van Dijk kept Erling Haaland out. They reduced Haaland to only 1 shot. I believe he only had 21 touches. Joe Gomez was brilliant out at left back, keeping Phil Foden pretty quiet. Then you look at the Liverpool midfield where everything happened, and I think we think back to that Liverpool side with Wijnaldum, with Henderson, but the energy that was shown from Alexis McAllister, Wataru Endo and Dominic Szoboszlai in this game to really control this Manchester City midfield was nothing short of sensational. The ability that they had to really condense the pitch, and we'll see that just now. If we see the pitch being condensed by the Liverpool centre-backs, by the forwards coming back, it's just so tight, and it stopped Man City from playing through those lines. Yes, they got some possession, but generally there was a disconnect between the attacking 5 and the defensive 5, and the ability for Liverpool to transition through the lines and really switch the play was something that Man City just could not deal with. Alexis McAllister was brilliant, and he won 8 out of his 13 ground duels. You can't see that there, but if I just scroll down a little bit further, 8 out of his 13 ground duels were won. He scored the penalty. He was one of the main dictators in this game. He partnered Endo very well, who really didn't have too much of a flashy game, but he doesn't need to. All he needs to do is to keep Liverpool ticking, and from a defensive point of view, I thought he was very good. Dominic Szoboszlai was able to go forwards. He was drifting everywhere, and he was such a nuisance for Rodri, who I don't think knew at any point in that first half where Dominic Szoboszlai was. Harvey Elliott did a very good job out on that right hand side. I thought he drove very well. And Darwin Núñez, we need to talk about Darwin Núñez, because although he gets a lot of stick for being offside, and yes, he was offside 5 times in this game. In fact, 5 out of the 6 times that Liverpool were offside were actually from Darwin Núñez. And yes, he could have had a number of chances, but it was his run that got the penalty, and he's just chaos. But what I think he did really well was dropping into these pockets here. He dropped into these pockets here for Liverpool, and he picked up the ball and then he recycled it round to his wingers. Now, what that does is just allow Liverpool to get a little bit of a breather. If they need to, Kelleher can hit the ball long, Darwin Núñez can win the ball, and then they start their attack from there. It just naturally gets them up the pitch. Núñez actually won 5 out of his 7 ground duels, and it just allows Liverpool to really progress the ball forwards a little bit faster rather than having to take their time. Don't get me wrong, they were absolutely fine with that as well. The presence of Quansah, the presence of Van Dijk just dictated the tempo continuously, and that's one of the biggest things. Manchester City were having the tempo dictated to them, and I don't think they've been in that position too many times. John Stones obviously gets the goal, and it was very impressive, but generally City were very poor, but that's down to how good Liverpool were from a controlling point of view, an attacking point of view, an intensity point of view. They were just fantastic. If we take a look at some of the stats, 2.46 XG for Liverpool, 1.61. I mean, nearly all of the stats are in Liverpool's favour. They have more possession than Man City. How many times can you say that? More shots, the same amount of shots on target, but I was so impressed with that second half. Let's take a look at that. And we can see that City had less possession. They had fewer shots. They had fewer shots on target. It was a dominating second half from Liverpool, 1.95 XG to 0.42. And then we take a look at some of the duels that were won. Let's take a look at that, because that's incredibly impressive as well. Liverpool won 48 ground duels to 42, 10 aerial duels to 8. Then you got tackles, 22, 12 interceptions to 15 and 9, and Man City had to make 18 clearances. They were on the back foot for a lot of this match, to the point where Pep Guardiola felt like it was necessary to remove his main player, Kevin De Bruyne, from this lineup. Now that we know about the link-up between Kevin De Bruyne and Erling Haaland, but he wasn't found. They just couldn't find him. They couldn't get into a rhythm to be able to control possession enough to be able to help Haaland. And bringing out De Bruyne and putting in Kovacic actually really helped Man City for a good, I'd say, 10 minutes. It allowed City to maintain possession, but they didn't have any penetrating possession. Not something that Liverpool had. Liverpool had continuous penetrating possession. It meant that they were able to drive the ball through the lines, drive the ball down the flanks, and continuously making Man City turn around and face their own goal. Or if they weren't facing their own goal, they were always retreating backwards. And that's something that I think that Man City haven't experienced too much of. The intensity from Liverpool was so impressive, and that's what I want to go on to next, because yes, the game ended 1-1. I get that. Yes, it's a good point for Man City considering the circumstances. It is only a game of football. But football is also about mentality, and teams like this run off momentum, and they run off the mental just power that they've got, that they play well in matches. And when you're a team like Manchester City and a team like Liverpool, and you know that there is only 1 point between you, forget Arsenal for a second, you know there's only 1 point between you, the dominating performance that Liverpool put in against this Man City side, mark my words, is a statement. It's a statement that will shock, it will rock, and it will concern the likes of Pep Guardiola. It will concern the likes of Kevin De Bruyne, Erling Haaland. Rodri was not in the game, and how many times have we said that? Never. We've never said that, but he couldn't get anything going. He was continuously stopped. He was continuously pressurised. There was no space. There were no passes beyond. There was no movement. And the fact that I'm saying that just shows how good of a job Liverpool have done. In this, what my point is that Liverpool played so well, I think it will shock Man City to their core, even though they're not beaten. It felt like a defeat. That's my point. It felt like City were beaten. Liverpool were fantastic, but it's the momentum that will be taken from this performance that I think is the most crucial factor. And it's that just might swing the title race in Liverpool's favour. Before we end, let's take a look at a couple of moments that I think need discussing just a little bit more. This was a cracking game. The first thing that we're going to take a look at is Kevin De Bruyne's cross into the box for Manchester City's first goal. It's obviously scored by John Stones, but the makeup of it was really interesting. So we know De Bruyne is going to whip the ball in, but I want you to take a look at Nathan Ake onto Alexis McAllister. In the post-match, John Stones said that the set-piece coach for Man City noticed something about the way that Liverpool set up, and I think it was this trio of zonal marking. Liverpool employ a kind of zonal man-marking system. You've got man-marking here, you've got man-marking here, but here is a more zonal area. That's not clear. This zone is more zonal, with the likes of Joe Gomez and Virgil van Dijk. Of course, you've got Kwanzaa at the back post, who isn't particularly marking anyone, but Alexis McAllister is marking the front post, and it's the distance, I think, between the goalkeeper or the goal and where this actual zone takes place that's the thing that Manchester City can exploit, because it allows De Bruyne to whip the ball in. It's such a narrow angle, I think it's difficult for them to really stop, and if you get a runner at the front post, it just makes the flick on that little bit easier. It's because they're defending the zone a little bit more intensely than other sides would. So what ends up happening is that Nathan Ake puts himself onto Alexis McAllister and just moves him out of the way, just shuffles him just a little bit. And it's this movement here that I think creates the opportunity in the space for John Stones to run ahead of the sleeping Darwin Núñez and just get to that front post quicker than anyone else. Look at the body position of Nathan Ake here, and he does a really good job of just holding off Alexis McAllister. They obviously move towards the box afterwards. They move towards the goal after the ball has been kicked, and it just gets whipped in, and John Stones is already on his bike right here. The two Man City players are actually closer to goal than the Liverpool players, and then you've got alarm bells. The ball gets whipped in and John Stones manages to tap it in, but it's through this movement right here from Nathan Ake that I think creates all of this. It's the space that's given, only a little bit, but it's just a small amount, and that's all John Stones needs. I thought it was a really well worked goal. It's not a foul for me. I think it's a really well worked goal. I don't think that there's too much in it. Just some really clever set-piece design. Now, the ball gets flicked in, and that's that. Let's go and take a look now at Liverpool. And I just want to highlight the intensity that Liverpool played at in this game. This is in the lead-up to the penalty. First of all, I want to highlight the Man City players. So we've got 1, 2, 3, and 4. Now, the space in between the back four and Rodri is actually quite deep. And this is down to Liverpool spreading the play. Conor Bradley is doing such a good job of just making those runs across, just spreading the play, stretching the game, and it's through the pace and dynamism of the likes of Darwin Núñez, from Luis Diaz, and from the overlapping runs of Conor Bradley that allows them to really stretch the game, and it makes Man City run against their own, or towards their own box, and it's something they obviously don't want to do. Now, what ends up happening is that Nathan Ake plays a poor pass through to Ederson, who is left in no man's land. He commits, he shouldn't commit, and it's a mistake, of course. But it doesn't happen if you don't have Darwin Núñez following, but also if you don't have Conor Bradley pressuring the likes of Nathan Ake. Remember, this is Liverpool's right back. You've got to remember that. He's young, he's Liverpool's right back, and he's pressuring Man City's left back. Now, this could blow up in Liverpool's face. It could be a huge error, but it's not. The intensity that comes from Liverpool just allows them to pressurise City enough and allows them to really put that impact on them and really put that intensity on them. It's really well worked. Obviously, Ederson comes out. It's a massive mistake, but Darwin Núñez gets his penalty, and it's through that sheer dynamism, the chaos that I was talking about with Darwin Núñez. He is pure and utter chaos. He's crazy, he's mad, but he's sensational at the same time, and it's through this that I think he's just able to get so much. Right, now let's continue and have a look at the final moment. What I want to look at here is the potential penalty that Liverpool could have gotten in the last minute. And I'm not going to lie, guys, I'm a bit perplexed by this one. So we have Doku and we have Alexis McAllister both going up for the same ball. 50-50, of course, right? It's a 50-50 shot for both players. They both go in for the ball, but one comes off worse than the other. And just take a look at that, because that's a bit of an issue for me. What is going on here? Because I don't think that's particularly fair. Yes, he gets the ball. I understand he gets the ball. Jurgen Klopp said in his post-match that, yes, he gets the ball, but anywhere else on the pitch, and that's a foul and a possible yellow card. And I can't really disagree with him. He makes contact with Alexis McAllister's chest, albeit not with a massive amount of force, but if he hits him with a massive amount of force, he does a lot of damage. He really hurts him. So it's a serious thing. It's studs on body. It's a dangerous challenge, and it's in the box. And it baffles me that VAR, genuinely, that VAR have not had a look at it. And I really do think we need to go back and look at the rules and the high bar for VAR and what is going on with some of these decisions. It just doesn't seem to make sense to me. I'm sure Man City fans will be absolutely elated with the fact that they haven't had a penalty given against them in the last minute and the VAR haven't intervened. But for me, this is a pretty big error. I think it's a foul. And if it's a foul outside of the box, it should be a foul inside the box. There shouldn't be a difference. I know a lot of people say that there is sometimes, but there really shouldn't be. And for me, this one was a pretty big blunder. But it was a sensational game, and let's not let that tarnish it. We have a title race on our hands. And for me, in this particular match running into the title race, Liverpool came out on top. It's a matter of time to see how it unfolds. And that's my question to you at the end of this. How do you see the title race playing out? And who do you see lifting it at the end? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Thank you ever so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. I hope you learned something new. And I hope to see you in the next one. But until then, my friends, take care.